Bank manager throws black CEO's dad's ID on the floor. Chew made with clipchamp. Have you ever watched someone humiliated in broad daylight, only to later realize they just embarrassed the father of one of the most powerful CEOs in America? What if I told you a single act of disrespect cost a global bank a $5 billion deal? And that kindness, not power, not revenge, was what changed everything. Because this isn't just a story about business, it's about respect, redemption, and a moment that made a room full of millionaires cry. It was a bright Thursday morning in Midtown Manhattan. The kind of day where even the sunlight feels like it's wearing a suit. Inside the grand lobby of Hensley Private Bank, polished marble floors, tall glass windows, the quiet hum of wealth, an older black man stood patiently in line. His name was Thomas Reed. Gray around the temples, posture proud but gentle, wearing a simple brown overcoat and carrying an old leather folder under one arm. He didn't look like money. But that folder. It held documents connected to the biggest private equity deal of the year. What Thomas didn't know was that someone was about to judge him by the color of his skin, and not the content of the contract he held. Next. The voice snapped from behind the desk. It was Raymond Collins, a mid-level manager who'd worked at the bank for 17 years. Thomas stepped forward, calm, with a polite smile. "Good morning, sir," he said gently. "I'm here to confirm a wire transfer for Reed Global. My son asked me to verify a few signatures in person." Raymond barely looked up. Instead, his eyes scanned the coat, the folder, the gray face. "And you are." He said it with that tone, the one that makes you feel small before you even open your mouth. Thomas reached into his coat and pulled out his ID. Raymond took it, then sneered. "You think you can just walk in here with this?" he muttered. He tossed the ID onto the floor. It skidded across the marble and landed near a trash bin. A few heads turned. Someone whispered, "Was that necessary?" Thomas didn't shout, didn't curse. He simply bent down slowly and picked it up. With a trembling voice he said, I'll try again some other day." But just before he reached the doors to leave, someone called out, "Sir, wait." It was Maya, a young black teller who had just watched the whole thing unfold. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were sweating. But her conscience was louder than her fear. She jogged up to him. "Please don't go. I saw what he did. That wasn't right." Thomas gave her a soft, worn-out smile. "It's all right, sweetheart. I've seen worse." But Maya wasn't having it. "Sir, I don't care who you are. No one deserves that. Please, come with me." She led him to the side desk and helped him re-verify everything. She even brewed him a fresh cup of coffee from the break room, black with 1 sugar. Just how he liked it. As they spoke, she learned his son was Andre Reed, the CEO of Reed Global Holdings, a tech and infrastructure conglomerate preparing to move billions in assets through Hensley Bank. Maya's jaw dropped. Thomas just chuckled. "He's done well for himself. But I try to keep him grounded. And he always says, 'Dad, if anything ever feels wrong, you let me know. No matter what.'" Thomas sat in silence for a moment. Then he reached into his pocket and dialed. "Hey son, I'm okay, but I think we need to reconsider that bank you're working with." Across town, in a towering glass office, Andre Reed stood up from his chair mid-call. "What happened?" When Thomas explained, Andre didn't raise his voice. He didn't cuss. He didn't even sound angry. He just said one thing. "Dad, I'm on my way." Less than an hour later, the doors to Hensley Bank swung open again. This time, the whole atmosphere changed. Security guards stood straighter. Receptionists adjusted their jackets. Because walking in was Andre Reed, 6'3", sharp black suit, gold pin on the lapel, and eyes like thunderclouds. He didn't come alone. 2 lawyers, his CFO, and a media liaison. All waiting. All watching. "Where's Raymond Collins?" Andre asked coldly. Raymond approached, trying to smile. "Mr. Reed, it's an honor. I didn't realize your father." "You didn't care who my father was," Andre interrupted. "You saw a black man, not a client, not a human being, just someone you thought didn't belong here." Raymond stammered. "Yeah. You cost this bank a $5 billion deal." And with that, Andre turned. "Dad, let's go. Maya, would you walk with us?" Maya blinked. "Me?" "Yes," Andre smiled. You're the only person here who treated my father with dignity. As they walked out, Andre turned to Maya. Where did you go to school? NYU, sir. Finance and management. Still working the teller desk? She nodded. You deserve better. 2 weeks later, Maya sat behind a new desk inside Reed Global's Midtown office, with a vice president title on her nameplate. Thomas stopped by often to bring her donuts and remind her, you spoke up when it mattered. And every time Maya smiled and said, you deserved better. A month later, something unexpected happened. Thomas received a handwritten letter in the mail. It was from Raymond Collins. Mr. Reed, I can't undo what I did. I judged you. I embarrassed myself. And I lost everything because of it. But maybe that was the only way I'd learn. I've started volunteering at a mentorship program for underprivileged youth. The kids remind me of the man I wish I'd been that day. Thomas folded the letter quietly. Then he picked up the phone again. A few weeks later, Raymond walked into a community center in the Bronx. He had been mentoring teenagers there, helping them understand finance, credit, entrepreneurship. But that day, the guest speaker was Thomas Reed. As Raymond stood in the back of the room watching the same man he had once humiliated inspire a room full of boys with nothing but wisdom and kindness, Thomas looked over and locked eyes with him. And smiled. That simple act of forgiveness, unsaid but deeply felt, cracked something open in Raymond's chest. It wasn't just guilt. It was hope. At a national conference on equity in business, Andre Reed told the story of what happened at the bank. The audience, hundreds of CEOs, investors and politicians, sat in stunned silence as he recounted every detail. When he reached the part about Maya's kindness, they stood and applauded. When he read Raymond's letter out loud, some people cried. But when he invited his father on stage and Thomas took the mic, voice steady, eyes soft, and simply said, sometimes the loudest voice isn't anger. It's kindness that doesn't quit. The room erupted. So, what does a $5 billion deal, a young bank teller, and a quiet old man have in common? They proved that kindness isn't weakness. It's power. It changes hearts. It changes systems. It teaches us that no matter how high we rise, we must never forget how we treat the ones who walk in unnoticed. Because you never know whose father, mother, brother, or sister you're talking to. Or what one small act of respect can unlock.